Mark and I talk about, done is better than perfect.
Right.
So if you don't get going, you're never going to get going. Your first steps as a kid, you fell flat on your face. Or you see toddlers when they're trying to walk, and you think, okay, get back up, okay, get back up. And that's
Yep.
kind of what it's like.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ramblin' Rodeo podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Ellis, and I'm so glad everyone could join. We have a special guest here that I will allow her to introduce herself in just a little while. But before we start, I'm going to start us off with prayer because that's just like what we usually like to do around this podcast. So we'll start off with prayer and then we will go into our Zoom call. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing me to be able to do this podcast. Thank you for allowing me the ability to be able to talk, God, and the ability to be able to chat with, freely with whoever I want to. God, I pray that you guide this podcast and I pray that it helps somebody. God, if it helps one person, I that's all right with me. God, I thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. If you want to start off by introducing who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Mary Edmondson, and I have a product called Amas Balm, and it is an all-natural healing balm for animals.
Okay. So when did that start?
It started in 2020 as some of these other kind of home-based businesses and stuff started during lockdown. And,
Right.
not really knowing what was going to happen, what was going to be the future. Mark and I both were talking about different things. It's like, okay, what could we do, if this never materializes or never goes back to normalcy?
Right.
And a friend of mine, she has a mule, and from her knees down on the mule, she gets bit by these little bitty flies, and
Mm.
to the point of bleeding, and it hurts and it's painful. And she just was kind of complaining about it. And so I thought,
Right.
all right, I think I can maybe let me do some digging around and let me see if I can put something together. And that's how it was born.
Okay. So, let's go back just a little bit. I kind of jumped into the Amas Balm just a little bit fast. Let's kind of talk about you just a little bit and your upbringing and how that has helped you with Amas Balm. So, where were you born at and where were you raised?
I was born in Southern California, but then when I was 2 years old, my parents left Southern California and went to North Idaho. So I grew up in Coeur d'Alene, and now Coeur d'Alene is very trendy. In those days, it was farmers, ranchers,
Right.
just folks trying to get by. There was a lot of logging, a lot of mining, hardworking people that lived there. So I lived there until probably my late 30s, early 40s. And then I moved back to the desert, moved back to Southern California.
So you moved back and what were you doing before Amas Balm?
Before Almost Mom in Idaho, if I want to go all the way back to Idaho, just kind of trying to get by. And then my husband at the time and I had bought a bar and grill. And so we were running a restaurant. And
Oh,
then we
wow.
moved back down to the Southern California area. It was like 2001, I think it was. We moved back down here.
So where was the bar and grill?
It was in Hayden Lake, Idaho.
Oh, okay. And so y'all ended up selling the bar and grill?
Yeah, we sold everything. His father was alone. His father's companion had died. So it was, and he was an only child. And so he's like, you know what, I can't leave my dad alone. His dad was in his upper 80s. And he's like, he says, we really should be there with him.
Right.
And it didn't hurt my feelings any because I was getting tired of the cold. I was getting tired of the gray, days, rainy. Lived there my whole life. Did a little traveling, but always, went back to North Idaho. So it was an adventure for me to move and go somewhere else.
So y'all moved back. And so what were y'all doing when y'all got back?
When we
Was
got back here to Southern California, we were with Jamie's dad and basically taking care of him and being with him. We were living with him. And then it was probably about a year or so after we all got together and, got a place and we were getting settled, then his father had an operation and he didn't make it through the operation and he passed away,
I'm sorry about that.
unfortunately. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So then we just stayed. We didn't pack up and go back to North Idaho. We just
right,
stayed here.
right. And so, how long after that was it that your balm came out?
Bomb came out in 2020, and so I had quite a few years here. When we moved here, 2001, I think Grandpa died in 2002, and then Jamie got sick.
Right,
So we were dealing with that. I had a small child, so I was trying to take care of him because he was ill and raise my daughter at the same time.
right,
So there were no horses or anything in that time period between
right,
2002 and 2008.
right.
That's when Jamie died. And then after that, I was raising a daughter by myself.
Mhm.
So time, money, I didn't have any of that. Then when she went off to college, that was about 2015. She went off to college and Mark and I were together, and I didn't really realize the impact of empty nest. I knew that it existed, but I didn't know how it affected people.
Right,
And I was just dragging. I mean, I didn't know what was wrong with me. And then it just kind of all started to dawn on me. And Mark knew my history. He knew growing up in Idaho. I grew up with a team roping family. We rode every day. My folks had trail ride service. And so in
right,
the summertime, I was a guide for a trail ride service. And, I mean, it was just constant ranchy horse stuff all the time. And then being without for all those years. And so Mark says, you know what, I think you need a horse. And so that was about 2016 was when that happened.
right,
So I did get a horse to use. I didn't actually buy one because I thought, I don't know if I'm going to have the time. I don't know if I was going to have the money. I just wanted to lease one just to kind of get back
right.
in the saddle. So the same horse that I approached and got to know in 2016, I still use him. I'm
Wow.
still there at the same place. Yeah. So then 2020 rolled around, and of course, nobody was going anywhere. We weren't doing anything. All the events and everything were, stopped. And so not only was I standing still, so was everything that I had the ability to ride. And so then that's when it got my brain going, what are you going to do? So when this person that I know mentioned this about her mule and I put together this balm, I figured, no, I'll just start using it on stuff. And I started using it on myself. I don't market it for human beings because that's a whole different, like the FDA. And
Right,
I could, but I just haven't gotten to that point. And so everything that's in it, as we talked about before, I mean, it's all natural. It can't hurt you. And I'm the test subject.
right.
Yeah, anytime I get any kind of a boo-boo or a cut or a scrape or a bee sting or whatever, I use it on myself.
Right. Yeah, I like that. And we're gonna go a little deeper into Amas Balm and everything. I want to go back just a little bit. You talked about loneliness, where you didn't realize how loneliness can affect you so much and how, it kind of sounded how fast you could get into it and how fast it could overtake. Can you give maybe a little bit of advice to someone who may be feeling in that time or maybe going into that time? Because I think that at any point in time that we can go through it, it just no matter you could be surrounded by 100 people and feel like you have nobody, and that is a real thing. And it's something that if you don't want help, it's not going to happen. You could have 100 people around you, and if you don't want the help, you're not going to get the help. If you don't want to get out of the lonely state that you're in, it's not going to happen. So if you could maybe give a little bit of advice, from someone who's been there.
If a person can recognize it, and I was fortunate that I was able to recognize it. I was fortunate to have Mark close by where he's just kind of shaking his head going, I think that you need an outlet.
Right,
And so he knew that the horses were a very familiar outlet, but something that I hadn't done in a long time. So I was insecure because it had been so long. So I was kind of doubting myself. It's like, do I want to do this? Okay, okay. And to answer your question, I was able to have horses are huge therapy. They are magnificent. And there's a reason why there's horse therapy. There's a reason
Right.
why the veterans use the horses for therapy. There's just a huge connection. My sadness and stuff doesn't even equate to what another person could be or has been going through, but just finding that outlet and being
Right.
able to be with him and work with him and, become partners basically.
Right. I like that a lot. And something that the people who may not know me and listen to the podcast don't know is our family runs a children's home called My Father's Zeros. Pretty much kids that are adopted. Typically, the kids that we take are adopted out of foster care, and they've went through a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
For those who don't know about the foster care system, it's a really messed up system, I would say. It kids are in homes and homes and homes and homes and homes, and they can't trust, and it's really sad, and things happen to them. And we run a children's home and we take them for a year. And anyway, I'm getting off a little sidetracked,
No,
but
that's okay. That's good to know.
what
Very
we
good.
we have horses here. We have 30 horses here.
Oh
And
man.
what you can see with horse therapy is insane. People don't realize how well that helps people. Horses can't talk back to you. Horses aren't, going to get all flustered at you because you're so upset or whatever. They can feel your emotions, but the horses that we have, you could be sobbing on them and just have the best time. It's something that people don't realize that can help so much, just having that horse there. Because once you get bonded with the horse, it's something that is you're bonded with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think horse therapy is a world that a lot of people don't know about, a lot of people don't realize about, something definitely that more education could be given toward to anybody that may want to be interested in that. But it's something that has helped all the kids that we have to where they
Yeah.
can go ride, they can go brush a horse. Just going and brushing a horse, taking the horse
Yes.
by yourself and brushing them off or giving them a bath. People don't realize how much that helps. So horse therapy is definitely a real thing.
It's
And
huge.
it,
Hmm.
it really does make a difference in a lot of people's lives. And
Hmm.
so it's not for everybody. It really isn't. It's not. But if you're at a place where you can, that's something I would recommend, to have a horse. Maybe you don't know a lot about it, but there's so many, no matter where you are, there's so many outlets you could go toward in the horse in itself.
That's very true. And again, like you're saying, you can be in an urban area, you could be in a city type area, you can be in a rural area. A Google search will get you
Exactly.
to a rescue center of some sort. They're always looking for volunteers, always looking for people to come and help. Even just cleaning, just cleaning stalls and stuff. It takes you out of your own head and you start
Yep.
thinking about this animal that really depends on
Yep.
us.
Yeah, and maybe it's a boarding place where they have a whole bunch of horses and they need someone to go throw hay out or something so simple to
Hmm.
just get yourself in there just a little bit. It's not something you want to jump into and just go buy five horses,
No.
because you're
Right.
depressed. It's something it's way more than that. But stepping into that world slowly for sure is
Mhm.
something that's going to help 100%. So was it before COVID or after COVID, Amas Balm started?
It was after COVID. We were on lockdown. It was 2020, thinking, okay, it's only going to be a couple weeks and we're all going
Right.
to go back to our normal lives and everything's going to be opened up. And you're right, big old shake of the head. No. So just thinking about, well, what could possibly, what could I do for later on? And it really didn't start out as how am I going to make money? That kind of thing. It was more like, how can I help these fly bites? That's how it all got started.
Right.
It wasn't that I was just kind of, tapping my feet going, I got to think of something. I got to create something. It was, how am I going to get these bites to heal? How am
Right.
I going to keep the flies away from her? Granted, there are these nets that you can buy, and
Right.
it attaches at the pastern, and then it goes all the way up to above the knee, and it's Velcroed and stuff. And so it's kind of like a mosquito net. However, if you got pasture horses, that's difficult.
Exactly.
The horse that I ride is a pasture horse. He's completely naked when he's out there. I don't need anything getting hung up. And so if I can put something on that's going to help in that department and I can turn him out, all is good in my world.
Right.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. So, for those who don't know, Mary and Mark, they're both sponsors of the podcast. Mark owns Buckaroo Brew, and you have Amas Balm.
correct.
So you said, was that something that kind of came in along the same time,
It did.
or
Yeah,
it, just
it
about the
did.
same time? How did that
Yeah,
work?
it was around the same time. Mark's better at remembering dates and stuff like that than I am. But I mean, it was so close to around the same time. There's a good chance that he started as Buckaroo Brew before
Right,
because I was asking him questions about
right,
things. So, but it was a short time in between.
right. And so, did Mark have any history in coffee before?
Outside of drinking it,
No. So it's something he kind of just stepped into.
yeah,
What sparked the Buckaroo Brew idea?
I'm not sure what sparked the whole coffee idea. I really don't. But he did want to keep with the cowboy theme. He wanted to kind of hone in on, a lot of the stuff I mean, just so I'm clear, Mark is not a horseman.
Right.
Oh, all right. No, I think he's ridden maybe twice in his life.
Right.
Okay. But he doesn't mind going to events with me. If I go and I'm, giving out samples at a gymkhana, or if I'm in a clinic, which I completed two clinics, one in October, one in November. And if he can be there, he'll be there. And he sits on the sidelines. He listens to stuff. I mean, his verbiage in a lot of cases, you'd think this guy acts like he knows how to ride. But
Right.
it's just because he's been on the sidelines. He's learned
Right.
a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's helped, with y'all both starting up at the same time or
Hmm.
close to the same time because y'all are learning off of each other. Hey,
Yeah.
Mark, I've learned this. Hey, Mark, I've learned this.
Right.
Like I've been able to, being able to ping pong back and forth on different things. I like both y'all's websites and everything for sure. I'm sure that's helped a lot too.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, and both of us, we were kind of like, the deer in the headlights. Neither one of us really knew what it all took to put all this together. Mark's a little bit, he's way more computer savvy than I am. So therefore, it comes easier for him.
Right.
And so that's why he set up the Zoom call today, because otherwise I'd still be fumbling around with it. So I do learn off of him,
Right.
for different things. And as far as the website, he knew what he wanted, he knew how he wanted to put it together. So I kind of rode on his coattails and
Yeah.
learned a little bit. My daughter helps me. So there's a lot of social media stuff that she does that
Hmm.
she likes doing it.
Right.
And I'm very, very, grateful that she likes doing it,
I
and so
like
she posts things and she makes videos. And so,
I can kind of relate to that a little bit. When I started this podcast, I'm still starting it. It's a lot harder than I ever thought.
it's a
Outside
lot
of
of
rodeo,
work.
when I started this podcast because I did podcast for rodeokids.com, and that they're an ambassador team that, helps rodeo athletes to be leaders. And so
That's kind of neat.
it's
Yeah.
really, really cool. I would highly recommend checking them out. But when I started the podcast, I did it with them for a long time and I loved it. And I was like, I got to start my own. And so I messaged the owner and I was like, hey, I'm going to start my own. And, she was super supportive and everything. And so then I was like, where do I go? Like, where does this start? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So then I started a YouTube channel and I started doing all this stuff. And, it's hard. Like, I'm still learning on trying to figure out a website and figure out how to sell stuff and like all this kind
Hmm.
of stuff. It was a world that I guess when you open up a website and you click on a website, it's, you scroll through and you look at it, but you don't think about how much work got put into doing that website or how much
Hmm.
work got put into packaging up your order and sending it to you, et cetera, et cetera. When you click on a YouTube channel, but I took it for granted. I really, really did. I, uh,
Hmm.
it wasn't something that was just like, oh, wow, this is pretty simple. I thought it was going to be a lot more simple than what it was. So I can kind of relate to getting everything set up. I didn't have much knowledge in how to do that for sure. So I really liked how we can kind of relate on the same way with that.
Well, like we talk about, Mark and I talk about, done is better than perfect.
Right.
So, if you don't get going, you're never going to get going. And,
Exactly.
your first steps as a kid, you fell flat on your face.
Right.
You see toddlers when they're trying to walk, and you think, okay, get back up, okay, get back up. And that's
Yep.
kind of what it's like.
It's exactly what it's like.
Mhm.
Like there is a lot of stumbles that happen when it's trying to start something like this, and it's
Mhm.
just part of it. You get back up and you learn, and
Mhm.
that's what it takes. You can't stay down. So I've enjoyed that. Like it's good to fall. It really, really is.
Yeah,
Get up and learn from, oh wait, now I've fallen. I need to get back up. I need to get going.
not going to do
And
that again.
now I know how not to fall. So let's go a little bit deeper into Alma's bomb. I think I see some in the background.
I do have a couple tins, yes.
Yes, can you show us?
Yes, there it is.
I like that. All right.
That's the big one. And I do have a couple of them that are on the way to you.
Yes, I just got them today.
Oh, good.
Yes, I literally 2 minutes before the podcast, the box came in.
Oh, yay. Okay. I'm glad that it made it. Yeah, it was a little iffy on the address when I went to the post office. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, this is what he told me to put. So,
Yeah, it gets a little messed up sometimes. People get it a little mixed up, but yeah, we got it here today. But
yay.
so tell us a little bit about what's in Alma's Balm.
So the main ingredients is going to be it's a lanolin base. So lanolin is basically made from sheep wool. So it goes into the skin and it's not toxic or anything. I mean, it's just it pairs well with the derma and it'll penetrate in and it's just it's a lanolin is lovely. It just
Right,
makes everything soft. And, even new mothers use lanolin. And so it's not going to, if say my daughter, she put it on her cat's foot, he got a pretty gnarly scratch on his foot and he lost his toenail. And so she put it on there to keep it from getting infected and so forth. And I said,
right.
don't worry about it. If he licks it, it's not going to hurt him. Just just put more on. I mean, it's not going to
Yeah,
hurt him at all. So then, of course, beeswax, and that gives it the integrity, as we talked about before on the phone. Being in a warmer climate, it can get a little sloppy. And so in the summer times, again, making smaller batches, in the
right,
summertime, I usually add a little bit more of that so that it kind of holds together better. Then we've got essential oils in there. Essential oil for hair growth promotion to repel flies. And then well, I've got three of them in there, and those are proprietary. And those are kind of the main things. I do have a botanical that's in there that's a proprietary botanical. And that botanical is what our indigenous people have been using for hundreds of years.
right,
And so it's antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal. Um,
right.
it does have pain relief properties to it. So all of that put into one balm, I've seen a lot of good results with it.
I like that for sure. So when you were making this, did you have any history in doing this, or tell us about that?
No, none whatsoever. I did like to bake in the kitchen. And so I knew putting certain ingredients together,
Right,
it was basic. And so really liking that and then knowing that in order to have the same taste two, three, four, five times down the road, it's got to be exact,
Right.
almost to the point of, where a lot of chefs or pastry chefs, which I am not, uh, they will weigh out their ingredients so that
Hmm.
it is exact.
Right.
So I did know that. And
Hmm.
then putting this stuff together and having one and looking at it going, that's not what I was looking for.
Right.
And so that, kind of went to the trash and went back to the drawing board,
Yeah.
added this, added that, took notes until I got the formula that I have today.
I like that a lot. And so you make Amas Balm. It's homemade, right?
Yes,
You do it all at your house.
yes.
Okay, so you made it all, and you finally think you're like, okay, this is it.
Mhm.
I think I've got it. I don't
I
want to
got it.
miss anything. I've failed 5 times, but I've gotten back up.
I
But
did.
I've got it now. Okay,
Yeah.
so now what's next? Are you trying it on you? Are you trying to sell it? What are we doing?
Well, what I wanted to make sure, after I finally got the right formula that I wanted to make sure that what I put the balm on, one, was going to work. There's a lot of stuff that's at the feed store. There's a lot of stuff that is on the shelf and it doesn't work.
Right,
And I've gotten testimonials from other people where they've said, I tried everything. It's like I bought everything off the shelf just to see if it was going to work and it didn't work. So I
right,
wanted to make sure that it worked. I want it fresh. So therefore the small batches. Having it mass produced and put in where there's tins of it, sitting on a shelf for God only knows how long. I don't know. I don't want the integrity of it to be broken down.
exactly.
And when you have all natural ingredients with no preservative, there's a good chance of it breaking down. So I wanted to keep it small like that. Using it on myself, I mean, if it was going to burn, sting, cause a rash, bubble up, whatever, if it's doing it on me, then I know not to use it,
Right,
on my four-legged friends or the chicken. I mean, you know,
yeah,
anything really, I
right,
just don't want because they can't say anything. They can't
mhm,
tell me, hey, this stuff is not good.
right. And
I've experimented on myself.
and just to clarify, your experiments went great, right? There was no.
Yes, I had taken the formula and I had put it in a lip balm, twisty lip balm.
Oh, okay.
And because none of the lip balms that I was buying I liked, and I knew that this was going to keep my lips moist because where the horses are, the wind blows a lot up there.
Right.
So we're talking chapped skin, chapped lips, the whole works. I had gotten stung by, I don't know what
Hmm.
it was. I grabbed onto something, something was on it, got me right in the middle of the hand. I thought, oh man, I'm in trouble because anytime I've ever gotten stung, it aches, it throbs, it swells up, it itches, it hurts, and it's just very unpleasant. So the only thing I had on me was that lip balm. And so I just rubbed it on there. I figured, well, let's see how it goes.
What don't kill you
Um,
makes you stronger.
that's right. And I put it on this on the bee sting or the wasp sting or whatever it was, and it didn't get sore, it didn't swell up, it didn't throb, but it did itch. So every time it began to itch, then I would put more on it. So I did this for several days and it was gone.
Oh, wow.
Oh, thank goodness, because I didn't want to deal with that.
Right.
And I did it again with some fire ants. My stick and string that I was using for groundwork was on the ground. I didn't have my gloves on. I reached down to grab it and they got me. And so it was the same thing. It was like in the palm of my hand. And man, those things are nasty. That hurt
You're right.
really bad.
I bet.
And where the horses are, it's at 4,500 feet. So I descend from 4,500 feet down to sea level. That's how long of a pull it is to get to the ranch.
Mhm.
So the weird thing about it was the elevation change made it throb when those fire ants got me. So while I'm driving, I'm grabbing my balm and I'm rubbing it all over my hand just to get the throbbing to stop. And it did.
Right.
The fire ants, it took a little longer than that bee sting, but
Right.
it did help.
I like that a lot. Like she said, she can't advertise it for humans, but you heard the lady.
You
We're to
know, I
be
mean,
clear,
I
we
don't
are
know.
not advertising it for humans, just to be clear. But that you hear what she says.
The thing is that I don't know an animal person out there that doesn't use the animal stuff on themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
There was a friend of mine, Summers in Anchorage, Alaska, and he knows a lot of the mushers up there, and they train for the Iditarod. They've got a whole string, like 16 dogs, and they say that when they are on the trail, they don't have anything else that they can use. They use what they use on their dogs for themselves, and I know a lot of horse people do the same thing. It's like, well, I've got this. I'm going to put
Right.
this on myself.
Exactly.
Everybody's got, vet wrap, Coban, and I'm going to go wrap it up kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people I know, even personally, like if it's used on a horse 90% of the time, unless it's like some like needle or something, like
Right.
it's been used on a human at some point. So yeah, I think that having an ointment that is all natural where you don't have to wear gloves because most, I wouldn't say most, but there are multiple different ointments where it's clear warning or you
Yeah.
clearly know there's certain ointments that I won't say like that that if you don't wear gloves that there's been studies where this could happen to you or this could happen to you, and so having a clear conscience of, I can use this on me, I can use this on a dog, a cat, whatever. So being able to have that clear conscience is a great thing for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, if your pet licks it or, they ingest it somehow, it's not going to hurt them. There's nothing
Right.
in it that's going to hurt them.
So you said you put it in a tiny container, like a lip balm container, and then you have big cans, little cans. Did you start with bigger cans or littler cans, or how did that
I,
happen?
I started with the 1 ounce tin. And then I went to a 4 ounce tin, and those are the two that I just showed you. If someone wanted more, a bigger container that can be obtained. The little samples, they're, like maybe a half of a teaspoon or a teaspoon of a sample. I mean, if someone wants to try it,
Yeah,
it's enough to get it to
right.
let them try it, you
I
know.
like it. And so, has there been any issues trying to sell it? Like, I know obviously it probably cost a lot of money to get this thing rolling and get it out. And I'm sure it was really exciting to finally get it out and get it rolling to where it is now. But has there been any problems, when trying to sell this stuff?
Not necessarily. The help of Julianne, putting up TikTok videos, putting up social media videos. I sell it
Mhm.
through Etsy, no, I haven't had any problems at all. I do package it here at my house, and
Right,
so I don't have any problem with that because I'm the one that's doing it.
right.
So to answer your question, no, I haven't had any troubles.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, how much are you selling? Or is it a good bit that you're getting out of there, or like what's average?
As far as profit,
No, can't like how many cans are you selling?
oh, I have not, broken, the sound barrier on it. And, I probably get maybe 10 orders a month. And so I think that a lot of it is because of it being not being advertised really heavily.
Right,
And so I'm kind of glad that it didn't just get completely blanketed because then I wouldn't have been able to keep up with it.
right,
So starting out slowly, working out the bugs, figuring out how long does it take me to make this, how much
right,
can I get in one batch, that kind of stuff. It was good that it was started out slowly.
right. And so I'm sure that there's people who like you have your customers who continuously buy, like once they start, they are coming back. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I've got several customers that they use the 1 ounce tins, and
Hmm.
so yeah, they'll get on Etsy, and I'll recognize their name. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
look, it's Carl. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. you have a website, and just out of personal curiosity, anyone who may be wondering and want to start a small business, why wouldn't you sell off your website? Was it easier to go through Etsy or
Yeah, for this the start of it, yes. We haven't gone down the path of selling it on the website yet. And so again, it would be my in being more enthusiastic to try different platforms. But for right now, I'm happy with Etsy.
right,
And my daughter being as busy as she is, not trying to overwhelm her with the stuff because that's what she's doing. She knows how to do it. And so I want to keep her, at the forefront of that.
for sure, for sure. I was just a little curious about that. And so when you make the balm, what is kind of the process of making it? Is it through in the stove? Is it, or how do you do that?
With those kinds of ingredients, we don't want it to heat up really fast. So microwave is completely out of the question. But we do want to incorporate it. We want it to all emulsify, come together, that kind of thing. And it's on a slow double boiler. And then the double boiler kind of came from the baking. And I was looking at it going, okay, we can't heat this up too fast. It's just got to be kind of on a slow, melt, and then everything melts into it. And then once it's all incorporated, then I pour it into the tins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so do you only do that when you get an order? Do you kind of have some stocked up when you
I have,
know there are
yeah,
times you can have an order?
I have some stocked up,
Oh,
but
okay.
not like shelves, shelves and shelves and
Not a lot.
shelves.
Not a lot.
And so if it starts to get a little bit low, then I'll make a batch.
And have you ever considered selling in a store, like to a company? Have you ever considered that?
I've thought about it, but I haven't executed it. There was a guy that was helping me, and he was very gung ho. And so it kind of overwhelmed me by, what he wanted to do and how fast he wanted to do everything. And then I got to think about, the money that I'm putting out as well.
Right.
So I had to kind of cool that a little bit because it was my insecurity.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, okay, okay. I think this is a little overwhelming for me.
Right. I get that. It can be a lot to go sell in a store, sell online,
Right.
sell on Etsy, and having to go and
Mhm.
ship out all these orders and take them places, and then still have your good name. What Because things can happen in a store. People can drop things. It can get too hot. It can get too cold. So still having your good name, I'm sure that helps you just being able to, okay, look at this, okay, ship it. I'm sure that
Yeah,
helps.
it does. And in the event that it became where I was getting lots of orders, then I
Right.
would hire someone,
Hmm.
someone to help me,
Yeah.
fill the orders, you know,
Right.
just, have certain tasks for a person to do, which could possibly happen, and so that bridge will cross when we get to it.
Right. And so I seen today, and anyone who follows the Facebook page would know, and if you're not following, please do, it would know that you started bandanas, dog
Yes.
bandanas. Why that, and how did that kind of happen?
That I have to give credit to Julianne for that. I thought it was kind of cute. I thought, wow, because she loves putting bandanas on her dog. And
Right,
it's just you see all of these costumes for dogs. You got
right,
you got Halloween, you got all of these costumes, all the Christmas stuff's coming out. And so when she came up with that idea, I'm like, that is a really cute idea. Very cute. So
yeah,
we're hoping that kind of, takes off.
yeah. I hope so, and I'm gonna continue to help promote, help that out just a little bit. I like that idea. My sister, she's crazy about dog bandanas. I don't understand it.
Is
She's
she
like, here's
really?
your Thanksgiving bandana.
Yeah.
Here is your Christmas bandana. I'm like, why? I don't understand this. Why do you keep buying these things?
My
I
daughter
don't.
does the same thing.
Yeah,
That dog of hers is just made up.
my sister definitely spoils our dogs. She'll go
Yes.
and she'll come back from the store and I'll be like, "How much dog stuff did you bring home?" She's like, "Nothing." Yeah, she always has something. The dog always have new toys and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's all this, all always with her.
That dog of theirs is their third child.
I get that.
Yes.
You got a hat? Is that something that people can buy too?
Yeah, these hats, I was just kind of monkeying around with them. to see if the leather, I don't know if that's real leather, if it's pleather or whatever it is. I don't know if I like the logo. I don't know if it shows enough.
Right.
I think I want it a little bit more colorful, like the logo on the bandana.
We're
And
really,
so I don't have these for sale or anything like that on Etsy. In some cases, if I get a, a good size order, I'll throw a hat in just as a thank you kind of thing.
right,
But I'm
right,
not promoting and pushing and, all of that as far as the
right.
hats.
So maybe if you want a hat, place a big order. Just a hint to anyone who is listening.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So we're kind of wrapping up here. Where can people order your bomb?
Etsy.com. So
Okay,
Amas Balm
Amas Balm,
on
Etsy.com.
Etsy.
And you have a website?
Yeah, that at amasbalm.com is
Okay.
my website. Yeah,
And that also directs them to Etsy if they
correct.
just want to go there.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think that's where I had seen it originally, and then I went to the Etsy shop. And so, do you have an email for people to reach out? Maybe if they want to place a big order, maybe they have questions.
That would be Mary at amasbalm.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And you're on Facebook and TikTok, correct?
correct. Hmm.
And that's Amas Balm.
Yes.
All right, and that's also on the Facebook page, and we'll have that in all the description of the video and everything as well. Is there anything else you want to share about you or about Ms. Baum that people should know?
I do have one story if we have time. I don't
Oh,
know.
100%,
Are we
100%.
are we doing okay on time?
Yep, we're good.
Uh, there was a gal that reached out to me and she reached out to me via, email. And
Hmm.
I got this email from this woman and she was enthusiastic and she wanted to know who I was and wanted to talk to me. It's like,
Right.
okay, okay. I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on here. So she has her mare, and this mare ended up with a couple of bumps on her wither. On the website, there's a picture of those bumps.
Right. I've
Okay.
seen them.
So what Chelsea had done was she got a hold of her veterinarian, had the vet come over, look it over. Vet had no idea what it was. They checked her saddle, make sure her saddle was fitting properly. Everything was fitting properly. The vet said, there's really nothing I can do, but I can prescribe you some steroid cream. And then Chelsea had gone to the feed store and she was looking all through the feed store trying to find an ointment or a salve or something to get rid of these
Mhm.
bumps because it was driving her nuts. And it was just two of them.
Right.
So her trainer, Alexander, Gibson, he says, "Hey, I got a sample of Amas Balm. Why don't you try it on your mare and see if it works?" And within a couple of weeks, both of the bumps were gone.
Oh,
And this
wow.
girl was just completely so excited about this because she said, I didn't know what it was. My vet didn't know what it was. She said, I think I bought everything off the shelves at the feed store. And she said,
Hmm.
nothing worked. Nothing.
Right.
So that was a fun testimonial.
I like that. It's something that people are going to really have to try. So maybe you don't place a huge order at first. Get a little tin can, and that's what it's for. I like that you have it like that, where they can just go and put a little bit on and try it and
Yeah,
just kind of
try it.
see.
I had an itch problem, and I think that it might have been sweet itch. For some reason, Tarzan was beginning to scratch his tail, and it was height of the summer, and I massaged the balm into the base of his tail where he was scratching it, turned him loose, put him out in the pasture, and a couple of weeks later, or whatever, it's the hair's starting to grow back. He's not scratching it anymore. And I'm sure, you've probably been around enough horses to know that they can rub that hair off their tail really fast,
Very, very fast.
really fast. So that worked for me. And then there was another instance where another pasture horse that we have, he's retired, so nobody rides him.
Right.
And he was getting
Horse flies. There's horse flies in
horse
California.
flies. It was like the big ones that has the
Oh,
bald
mhm.
head and black. They're
Yeah.
just scary looking. And so they were hanging on him basically. and it made a pretty good size sore.
Real.
So when I did see him, and I thought, okay, just give me a minute. I'm gonna put some of this on. We'll see what happens. Saw him again, a week later, put some more on. And so, you kind of can fill in the blanks, the rest of the story. And there's an old timer that was coming and going at the ranch at the time, and he's the kind of guy that really doesn't give any kind of, accolades to anybody or a pat on the back or, wow, good job, you
Yeah.
know. And all he said was, I don't know what you're putting on that sore, but it's working.
Hmm.
And I went, that's a testimonial. I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that one and put that one in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. There's a few people I know where it's like if you get a compliment, you know you did a good job.
Yeah, or you're not being yelled at.
Yep. Do you mind, just out of curiosity for anyone who's watching and might want to buy, can you open up one of those and just show us
Sure,
what it looks like and
absolutely.
the consistency of it just a little bit?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Is it, and it's like a harder balm. It's not like a,
Yeah, it's not hard, but it does have integrity.
yeah, I like
So,
that.
it's not like I can tip it and it's not going to fall out,
Yeah.
but yet it's not liquidy.
Hmm.
So it would be probably a little bit, I would say, stiffer than bag balm.
Oh, okay.
Bag balm is it's softer.
Hmm.
This when you put it on, you kind of have to push it so that it
Yeah.
so that it, gets into where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But
And
it
so
definitely helps with those fly bites and stuff.
I've seen like some before and after pictures and a lot of stories. I like that for sure. So the temperature of the balm, where do you like to keep that at?
Well, room temperature works great. Anything from, I would say, 70 to 85. It's great. I mean, when we get into, the 90s and the hundreds and the 120s, which we get down here, that's gonna make anything a little soupy. Really. Any kind of balm that you might have in your medicine kit or whatever that you got in your horse trailer or, in mine, everything's in the back of my truck. It works pretty good at those temperatures.
So it's not just gonna like completely melt like into just total soup unless it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to get pretty darn hot for it
Yeah.
to turn into soup. But
Yeah.
yet, on the other hand, it's not so stiff that you can't get it out. I would say that if you're putting it on somebody and you're in a cold climate and you're getting into the 20s, or maybe below, it might be a little difficult. You might have to put it in the house and let it warm up a little
Right.
bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've really, really enjoyed being able to talk with you. I wish everyone will go out and at least check out the website. Email
Thanks.
her questions that you may have if you're maybe considering about buying it. It's one of those things that you're just gonna have to try and figure out, you know what I mean? And if you do try it, please email me and let me know, hey, I tried it. It worked great. I'm confident that you're gonna like it and you'll enjoy it. But I'm just, I would love for y'all to be able to go and check it out and order some, try it on your pets, maybe get some before and after pictures and
Yeah,
send them
that's
to us
helpful.
because that's always helpful, I know. But yeah, I really, really appreciate you coming out and, taking the time to chat with me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No
This has been
problem. Thank you
fun.
so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.